at you because you're crazy.
I like just my call. I want to tell you happy birthday. So,
It's Beyonce. It's Beyonce.
that's Shedeur. Want to tell you happy birthday.
Hey, thank you so much. Perfect time. I'm having my watch on. Perfect time. Perfect time. Thank you guys so much. Go. Hey, no way. Perfect time. What do you say? Yes, sir. Go. Thank you.
We are here today to try Mr. Grossi, the general of the 100 Years' War. He is being tried for quarterback negligence and favoritism against my guy, Shedeur Sanders.
What happens when an up-and-coming football star turns into one of the most polarizing figures in sports media before even going pro? Shedeur Sanders is no stranger to the spotlight. As the son of NFL legend Deion Sanders, pressure has followed him since day one. But over the last year, the buzz around Shedeur has taken a sharp turn, sparking everything from viral fan moments to bitter media arguments, and yes, even an actual on-air trial between two sports insiders over whether he's being unfairly judged. Just recently, while critics were busy debating if Shedeur was a bust or the real deal, he did something no one saw coming. In the middle of training, in the middle of growing tension online, this young QB made one phone call that brought a stranger to tears and completely won over the internet. It wasn't a press stunt. It wasn't publicized. And that's exactly why it blew up.
We are here today to try Mr. Grossi, the general of the 100 Years' War. He is being tried for quarterback negligence and favoritism against my guy, Shedeur Sanders.
This is a ridiculous complaint lodged against me. Second of all, I also want to apologize because in order to defend myself, I have to take a victory lap, okay? And by doing that, what I mean is, I think my analysis and reporting of what went on at training camp should be award-winning because it was so much on the mark, even though it was against the grain of the popular media out there.
Well, obviously.
But that's just surface-level stuff. Behind the viral clips and highlight reels, there's an ongoing war between fans, media, and insiders over Shedeur's potential. And whether he's actually as humble and hardworking as some say, or if the fame is getting to him faster than the game itself. And to make things even messier, one well-known reporter went so far as to put another insider on trial for allegedly hating on Shedeur without cause. Yep, a mock courtroom. Live on sports radio. And it went completely off the rails. In this video, we're diving into the unfiltered story behind Shedeur Sanders, a rising star caught between viral fame, media heat, and a football future that might surprise everyone. But first, here's how a 30-second video call nearly broke the internet. It started off like any other birthday. Balloons, cake, family gathered around.
Let me do this here. Let me take over right now. Let me say something to you. Let me say this to you. Number one, you're assuming the Browns know what they're doing with a quarterback competition. That is a violation of this court. There is absolutely no proof they've had any clue as to what the hell they're doing with quarterback. Okay. The only thing I'll give them credit for is bringing Flacco back, and Andrew didn't want it. That was because of Kevin. Number two, the diff is so exaggerated. They both had one bad game. Your guy did not light up the preseason. My guy did against Carolina. He had a bad game playing with third stringers, and you're taking that and holding it against him. Put Gabriel out there. He would have got eaten alive in that game. And that whole height thing is going to come back to bite you in the ass, and I'm going to take one of the biggest victory laps you've ever seen in your life.
Your Honor, I secede my ability to prosecute you.
Wow. But for one young girl celebrating with her loved ones in Cleveland, Ohio, the ordinary turned into absolutely unforgettable, all because of one unexpected phone call. Her family handed her a phone, saying someone wanted to wish her a happy birthday. Thinking it was just another friend or relative, she answered with a smile. But it wasn't a friend. It wasn't even someone she knew. It was Shedeur Sanders on FaceTime. Live. The moment was raw. Her face lit up instantly. Eyes wide in shock. And then, total disbelief. No way, she whispered, barely able to hold back her smile. That call, lasting only a few seconds, became the kind of moment you replay again and again. Not because of what Shedeur said, but because of how genuine it felt. There were no cameras staged, no PR teams in the background, no filters to frame the moment just right. It was just Shedeur calling a fan out of nowhere, making her day, and expecting nothing in return. The video hit social media within hours. Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, it exploded. Fans called it the most real moment of the week. Others said it showed the kind of character you can't teach. But perhaps the most viral reactions weren't even about the call itself. They were about how this happened at a time when some people were trying to bury Shedeur's public image with hate and criticism. And yet, while they were talking, he was out here lifting people up. But as the internet celebrated, one voice in sports media wasn't clapping at all, and he's been calling out Shedeur for months. And what happened next? Things got messy. While fans were watching Shedeur Sanders lift spirits with a single FaceTime, one Cleveland sports journalist wasn't impressed at all. In fact, he's made it very clear he's not buying the Shedeur Sanders hype. His name? Tony Grossi. And if you followed Cleveland sports for long, that name likely rings a bell. For all the wrong reasons. Grossi has a reputation, a long one. Known for hot takes and polarizing opinions, he's not afraid to call out players, coaches, or even entire franchises when he senses what he believes is hype over substance. And lately, Shedeur Sanders has become his favorite target. Behind the mic and across multiple articles, Grossi has repeatedly questioned Shedeur's abilities, his decision-making, his size, and even whether or not he deserves a serious shot in the NFL. He's painted him as a media product, someone benefiting more from his father's legendary career than from his own talent. Fans, of course, weren't happy about that. Many called Grossi out directly, accusing him of bias, bad reporting, or just flat-out hating. Still, Grossi didn't back down. He doubled down, claiming his scouting eye was just being honest, and that Shedeur hadn't earned the praise being thrown his way. But what Tony Grossi didn't expect was for someone to respond, loudly, live, and on camera. Because another insider, one who's been in the game just as long, had heard enough. And what he did next? It wasn't just a response, it was a full-blown public mock trial, putting Grossi's credibility on the stand in front of thousands. And the moment it aired, people didn't know whether to laugh or take sides. What started as a heated debate turned into something no one expected. Live on Cleveland Sports Radio, longtime insider Tony Rizzo decided to flip the script on Tony Grossi. Enough with the potshots. Enough with the snide remarks about Shedeur Sanders. If Grossi wanted to act like judge and jury in the media, Rizzo was gonna put him on the stand, literally, in a segment that now lives online in meme heaven. Rizzo created a full-blown mock courtroom, calling it the trial of Tony Grossi. And the charges? Quarterback negligence and media bias. Yeah. This was not your average sports debate. With fake gavels, exaggerated opening statements, and sarcasm turned up to 10, Rizzo laid out the case that Grossi had been unfairly targeting Shedeur Sanders with a personal vendetta masked as analysis. The crowd loved it. Listeners couldn't get enough. But behind the comedy, Rizzo was hitting real nerds. He pointed out how Grossi conveniently ignored other underperforming QBs, yet constantly nitpicked Shedeur's every move, even comparing third-string preseason reps to starting caliber play, just to downplay his potential. "I don't see fairness in how you judge quarterbacks," Rizzo shouted. "You're making it personal, and that's not journalism." Grossi, clearly rattled, tried to defend himself. He called the trial ridiculous, claimed his analysis was award-worthy, and insisted Shedeur just didn't pass his eye test. But by then, the internet had already taken sides. Clips of the trial flooded TikTok and Twitter within hours. Fans were calling Rizzo a legend. Memes of Grossi in a courtroom robe spread like wildfire. This was no longer just sports talk. It had become the latest viral sports controversy. and Shedeur Sanders was right at the center of it. But the real story? It wasn't about one reporter. It was about a deeper issue in the media that a lot of fans had been noticing for years. Tony Grossi's harsh takes on Shedeur Sanders didn't come out of nowhere, and unfortunately, he's not alone. There's been a long-standing pattern in sports media that's hard to ignore. Young black quarterbacks are scrutinized harder, judged faster, and written off sooner than their white counterparts. From Lamar Jackson to Cam Newton to even legends like Donovan McNabb in their early careers, critics often frame them as athletic but unproven, raw but undisciplined, or not a real pocket passer. Shedeur Sanders is following that same path. Despite putting up huge numbers, showing leadership, staying out of trouble, and carrying himself with maturity, he's still being nitpicked over things like his height, his media personality, and even how he dresses. Grossi's digs weren't just about football. They were personal. He questioned Shedeur's mentality, his discipline, even mocking his public image as if that defined his play. Meanwhile, less decorated QBs catch more patience in the media, more time to develop, more benefit of the doubt. And when someone like Tony Rizzo calls it out, even as a joke, it resonates with a lot of fans who've been seeing this bias. Whether it's on ESPN panels or Twitter threads, that mock trial wasn't just comedy. It was a mirror, because a lot of the hate Shedeur gets, it's not based on what he hasn't done. It's based on who he isn't. A traditional, quiet, don't make headlines kind of QB. But here's the twist. Instead of folding under that pressure, Sanders keeps doing something the media doesn't know how to spin, staying positive. And what he continues to do off the field is starting to speak even louder than what he does on it. While sports media debates his every move, Shedeur Sanders hasn't wasted a second feeding the noise. Instead, he continues to use his platform to give back. And that might be what separates him the most. When a young fan gets a phone call out of nowhere from Shedeur on her birthday, you realize this isn't some carefully managed PR campaign. This is just who he is. And it's not a one-time thing. Whether he's meeting with kids at local schools, staying behind after practice to talk with fans, or using social media to broadcast encouragement instead of drama, Shedeur has quietly become one of the more emotionally intelligent athletes of his generation. He knows people are watching. He knows people want him to clap back at the hate. But instead of reacting, he responds with action. When most young athletes faced with this level of pressure would fold, lash out, or hide, Shedeur elevates. He puts his teammates in the spotlight. He credits his coaches. He stands beside his father, even when the media twists that narrative into one of nepotism or entitlement. You don't have to be a fan of Colorado football to respect that. And while Tony Grossi is talking, Shedeur is walking. On fields, into schools, through communities that admire him not just for his arm, but for his consistency, his growth, his refusal to let criticism define him. He's not chasing headlines. He's earning them in ways most critics don't know how to measure. But even with all that positivity around him, the question remains, will it be enough to silence the critics once the cleats hit the field again? No matter how many birthday calls he makes or how much positivity he puts into the world, Shedeur Sanders is still a quarterback first. And in a world that only respects wins, highlights, and box scores, all of the off-field praise can vanish the second the scoreboard says otherwise. That's the challenge he's up against now. With another season on the horizon, the pressure is officially on. Not just to play well, but to outperform every single doubt that's been thrown his way. And it's not just about beating opponents. It's about rewriting the perception that's been forced on him since day one. Analysts are already split. Some believe he's a first-round talent in the making. Others say he's not even ready for the jump. Too raw, too short, too protected by Deion's spotlight. There's a constant tug of war between fan hype and media skepticism. And Shedeur is caught right in the middle. Every pass this season will be picked apart. Every mistake will be dissected, not just as a QB decision, but as a character flaw. That's what happens when your name is too loud for your age. You don't just play games, you play proving grounds. And the thing is, Shedeur knows it. You can see it in how he prepares, how focused he stays, how little he engages in the noise, even when it's deafening. Critics might say he's not built for the moment. But what happens when he finally proves that he is? Will the media walk back their words? Or will they move the goalposts again, like they always seem to? That's the storm Shedeur is walking into. And how he handles it could determine everything about his future. At this point, it's clear. Shedeur Sanders isn't just playing football. He's playing against legacy, expectation, and a media culture built to choose favorites and chew up the rest. He's not just Deion Sanders' son. He's not just the quarterback of a team in the spotlight. He's a 21-year-old being analyzed like a 10-year vet, with every move weighed, twisted, and judged through a microscope. And the question becomes, how do you build a legacy when the labels come before the stats? Some say Shedeur is overhyped. Others believe he's being underestimated. But the truth? It's a little more complicated than either side wants to admit. He's still developing. He's still making mistakes. But he's also doing something more quarterbacks should be known for: leading by example. Not just on the field, but in how he carries himself when the cameras aren't rolling. It's hard to coach poise. It's harder to fake presence. And Shedeur has both. In a media world driven by controversy, Shedeur's greatest scandal so far is being too confident. If that's the worst they can find, maybe that tells us more about the critics than the quarterback. Because legacy isn't built in one season. It's built in silence, in work, and in moments that the stat sheet doesn't catch. So the real question isn't whether Sanders is the next big thing. It's whether the world is ready to watch him become it on his own terms. What do you think? Is Shedeur Sanders more than just the last name in the spotlight? Or is the noise louder than the